Can fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking, so I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
You know, WikiLeaks just actually came out. John Podesta said some horrible things about you, and boy, was he right. He said some beauties. And you know, Bernie Sanders, he said you have bad judgment. You do. There is something that I wanted to say, because I was very honored, very, very honored, when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today. And I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand up. And honestly, there's nothing more I can say, because I have a lot of respect for those two people. Because you'd be in jail.
I have a lot of respect for those two people.
So thank you all for being here. And we're going to have 4 great years, hopefully, of peace and prosperity.
I have a lot of respect for those two people.
Thank you very much. Henry Kissinger has been a friend of mine. I've liked him, I've respected him, but we've been friends for a long time, long before my emergence in the world of politics, which has not been too long. But we have been really in the, I guess you'd say, the New York seat a little bit, but we got to know each other very well. He's a man I have great, great respect for.
I have a lot of respect for those two people.
He's also somebody, usually I say, have you ever been in the Oval Office? And with Henry Kissinger, I didn't bother asking that question, because he has been in this office many, many times. But it's an honor to have Dr. Kissinger with us.
It's an honor to have Dr. Kissinger with us.
We will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
I would have put a warning on or something on just that particular vaccine, but I certainly would have paused it and gotten front page news all over the world, and then people don't want it, and it probably even affects the others, because, you know, there's a big situation with a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine. Well, this played right into their hands, and they want me to do public service messages and everything about everybody taking the vaccine. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine, because I was the one that pushed it. You know, to get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle. Fauci said it would take 3 to 5 years.
Would you recommend to our audience that they get the vaccine then?
I would recommend it, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly.
It is now my great pleasure to officially welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, to the closing session of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting 2018. Mr. President, you cannot imagine how much we are looking forward to your speech. Not just the 3,000 leaders assembled here in Davos, but also the millions joining us globally, thanks to the presence of key media from around the world.
Thank you, Klaus, very much. It's a privilege to be here at this forum where leaders in business, science, art, diplomacy, and world affairs have gathered for many, many years to discuss how we can advance prosperity, security, and peace. It shows you how unpainful that vaccine shot is, so everybody go get your shot.
It works incredibly well, 95%, maybe even more than that. It works incredibly well, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. But, you know, again, we have our freedoms, and we have to live by that, and I agree with that also. But it's a great vaccine, it's a safe vaccine, and it's something that works.
When you have the vaccine, people that do, and it's a very small number relatively, but people that do get it get better much quicker. And it's a very important thing to know. They don't get nearly as sick, and they get better. Lindsey Graham's an example. He said, if I didn't have this vaccine, I would have died.
I recommend you take it, but I also believe in your freedoms 100%.
To keep new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days. The new rules will go into effect Friday at midnight. Additionally, last week I signed into law an $8.3 billion funding bill to help CDC and other government agencies fight the virus and support vaccines, treatments, and distribution of medical supplies.
I have really good news. Today, our nation has achieved a medical miracle. We have delivered a safe and effective vaccine in just 9 months. This is one of the greatest scientific accomplishments in history. It will save millions of lives and soon end the pandemic once and for all. I am thrilled to report that the FDA has authorized the Pfizer vaccine. We have given Pfizer and other companies a great deal of money, hoping this would be the outcome, and it was. Pfizer and Moderna have announced their vaccine is approximately 95% effective, far exceeding expectations. These vaccines are also very safe. American citizens participated in clinical trials that were far larger than normal and had no serious side effects. The dedicated and independent experts at the FDA meticulously studied the results of the trials, and it has now passed the gold standard of safety.
And you know what? I believe totally in your freedoms. I do. Bree, you got to do what you have to do. But I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But you got, no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine.
The vaccines do work, and they are effective. And here's my thing. I think I saved many, I don't think, I know, I saved millions and millions of lives throughout the world. We could have had another Spanish flu. We could have had, you know, in 1917, close to 100 million people died, they say. But it was really bad. And now other countries are using our vaccines, and, you know, they're tremendously successful.
As I've said from the beginning, a vaccine will vanquish the virus and return life back to normal. You're playing right into their hands when you sort of like, oh, the vaccine. If you don't want to take it, you shouldn't be forced to take it. No mandates, but take credit because we saved tens of millions of lives. Take credit. Don't let them take that away from you.
Okay, so the president made news.
Do you agree with that? Right?
Both the president and I are vaxxed, and did you get the booster?
Yes.
I got it too. Okay, so
don't. Operation Warp Speed is the greatest medical manufacturing endeavor in American history.
It's always a great honor to be in this office. And I'm here at a moment when the opportunity to build a constructive, peaceful world order is very great.
Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all. Good, I wanted that to be a nice signature. That was on her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Let's go to the White House right now. Our chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, is joining us. Jim, after days of uncertainty, the president has now actually invoked what's called the Defense Production Act.
That's right, Wolf. Definitely some action, but still some confusion in Washington on the coronavirus. President Trump has signed the stimulus bill into law and invoked the Defense Production Act, as you said, to order General Motors to produce badly needed hospital ventilators. But we are still waiting for clarity from the White House on how exactly the administration plans to start reopening parts of the U.S. while the nation is still battling this pandemic.
With the number of dead in the U.S. growing rapidly from the coronavirus, top Trump administration officials are sounding like they're throwing cold water on the president's goal to reopen the U.S. by Easter.
Well, the president expressed really an aspirational goal. The president said he would love to see it around Easter, but whenever that day is, that we can responsibly begin to open up portions of the country. But let me be very clear, there's going to be areas of the country where we need to continue to lean into mitigation efforts.
During a CNN town hall, coronavirus task force Dr. Anthony Fauci pointed to the rising number of cases, arguing that's no time to slam the brakes on social distancing.
That's when you got to hunker down, nail down, mitigate.
The president has been all over the place on the need for medical supplies, tweeting he wants to see top automakers producing hospital ventilators. General Motors must immediately open their stupidly abandoned Lordstown plant in Ohio or some other plant and start making ventilators now. Ford, get going on ventilators fast. President tweeted, invoke P. Invoke P means Defense Production Act, the law that gives him the power to force companies to manufacture sorely needed virus-fighting equipment. But on Fox News, the president questioned New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's plea for tens of thousands of ventilators for his state.
I have a feeling that a lot of the numbers that are being said in some areas are just bigger than they're going to be. I don't believe you need 40,000 or 30,000 ventilators. You know, you go into major hospitals sometimes, they'll have 2 ventilators, and now all of a sudden they're saying, can we order 30,000 ventilators?
Cuomo explained he's expecting his state's medical emergency will get much worse.
I hope we don't need 30,000 ventilators. I hope some natural weather change happens overnight and kills the virus globally. That's what I hope. But that's my hope. That's my emotion. That's my thought. The numbers say you may need 30,000.
The president even attacked Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who's battling her own coronavirus hotspot.
We've had a big problem with a woman governor from, you know who I'm talking about, from Michigan.
I want to thank Republicans and Democrats for coming together, setting aside their differences, and putting America first.
The president signed the $2 trillion stimulus bill, passed overwhelmingly by Democrats and Republicans in both houses.
No bill is perfect, but we want to make sure that at least comes near part of the way to being sufficient.
I object.
But they had to use parliamentary procedures to bypass a stunt pulled by GOP Congressman Thomas Massie, who forced lawmakers to return to Washington for a possible formal vote, putting the members and their families at risk. President slammed Massie as a third-rate grandstander who just wants the publicity. Former Secretary of State John Kerry topped that, tweeting, "Breaking news, Congressman Massie has tested positive for being an a-hole. He must be quarantined to prevent the spread of his massive stupidity." Finally, something the president and I can agree on. Massie was asked about his newfound infamy.
Donald Trump calling you a third-rate grandstander.
I'm at least second rate. And the White House is expected to sort out its plans for the nation's social distancing guidelines over the weekend. But the president's letter to the nation's governors yesterday hinting those measures may be relaxed has already caused confusion on the coronavirus task force. One source close to the task force told me earlier today the letter is just, quote, hanging out there. And getting back to the president signing that stimulus bill just a short while ago, we can show you a photo of that on screen. This is from the White House. 2 things to point out in this photograph, Wolf. One is the officials in the room, including the president, are not practicing social distancing. The other very important thing to point out, very critical here, according to the White House, no Democrats were invited to this signing, Wolf, in an hour like this, where the president has said for days that the country needs to come together. You could not see that in that photo.
Yeah, well, that was an awful decision. You would have thought the president would have wanted to use this opportunity to show some bipartisan support on behalf of the American people. Have they explained why no Democrats, the Speaker, the Minority Leader in the Senate, why they weren't invited?
They have not, Wolf, and our colleague up on Capitol Hill, Manu Raju, says the Speaker was not invited. As we know, they have not, the President and the Speaker have not spoken for months on a personal level. So obviously, there isn't bipartisanship in the air when it comes to that relationship. But obviously, this was an opportunity where the President could have tried to turn over a new leaf and invite some Democrats over to the Oval Office for something as big and momentous at this, and it just seems to be an opportunity missed, Wolf.
It certainly was a serious opportunity missed on behalf of the American people. All right, Jim Acosta, thank you very much. Let's get some more on all of this right now. The Michigan governor is joining us, Gretchen Whitmer. Governor, I know you're incredibly busy, but thank you so much for joining us, spending a few moments with us. The president is now using his powers as president under what's called the Defense Production Act to direct General Motors to begin producing ventilators. General Motors, largely in your beautiful state. Will those ventilators get to hospitals in Michigan and elsewhere soon enough to save lives?
Well, we certainly hope so. You know, General Motors is a quintessential American company that has contributed to building the middle class in our country, helped make Michigan and the United States the arsenal of democracy to win World War II. The leadership at General Motors is top-notch, and I think that they are going to rise to this challenge. It won't happen overnight, though. Switching over from building cars to building something as complicated as a ventilator is going to take a while, and we don't have a lot of time to waste, and that's why I'm glad to see this action. I would love to see more of this, more of the strategic powers of the president to be used nationally. We need a national strategy. This patchwork of laws based on who the governors are really isn't the best strategy going forward. And I think we all need to lock arms and not fight one another, but fight COVID-19.
Well, that's an important point you're making, Governor. The president, as you well know, he personally attacked you on Fox News last night. He said he was having, in his words, a big problem with that young woman governor, and he referred to that young woman governor being from Michigan. So far, he's refused to act on your request for a major disaster declaration. Are your political differences, you're a Democrat, he's a Republican, preventing you from getting the badly needed assistance that will help a lot of people in Michigan?
Well, I can tell you this, Michigan, like states across the country, Republican and Democratic led, we are struggling to get the PPE that we need. We are struggling to make sure that our nurses and doctors on the front line have the N95 masks that are so precious. We've gotten a few of our shipments out of the strategic, the national stockpile, but the fact of the matter is the latest one had 0 of these masks, and that's what is so crucial right now. I'm not going to fight with anybody. I'm going to fight for the people of Michigan, to fight to make sure that we've got what we need to combat COVID-19. It is spreading so quickly in our state. Up 801 cases today, 32 more people passed away in the last 24 hours. We need help. We need leadership, and we need to put political differences aside and focus on the real enemy, and that's the virus.
I know you haven't heard anything directly from the president, but have you heard anything from the White House, from other officials there, about your request?
Well, I know that they've received it, and I have talked to the Vice President, Mike Pence, a number of times, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. We have been working diligently with Army Corps of Engineers, making sure that we're working with the FEMA. They have a seat in our State Emergency Operations Center. We're just doing everything we can to pull out all of the stops. And I know Mike DeWine in Ohio and governors across this country are doing the same. We need to make sure that we have got the materials we need to protect people.
I know you told a local Michigan radio station this morning that medical supply vendors are being told, in your words, not to send stuff to Michigan. Not to send stuff to Michigan. What did you mean by that?
Well, we've entered into a number of contracts, and as we are getting closer to the date when shipments are supposed to come in, they're getting canceled or they're getting delayed. And we've been told that they're going first to the federal government. And I know Michigan's not alone. I saw Governor Charlie Baker, Republican from Massachusetts, say essentially the same thing. Same with Mayor Garcetti out in Los Angeles. This is an issue that we are confronting as a nation, where we are bidding against one another, where we are struggling to grab every PPE that we can get our hands on. This is part of why I'm hopeful that in addition to the Defense Protection Act, or Production Act, that we have adopted a national strategy and really focus on ramping up, especially where we see the growth so fast, like in Detroit and Oakland County and Wayne County here in Michigan.